This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good luck, everyone. Thank you for this amazing opportunity. I want to thank Mrs. Novak for graciously hosting tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you for opening up your home. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu be mevarech you and your whole family. That this bayis should always be full with Torah, with Hashem's presence, with bracha and hatzlacha, shalom, gesund, abiyas gal tzedek. I want to thank a very remarkable woman who is I'm very indebted to for many, many reasons. But I want to thank Rebbitzin, Suri, thank you for everything that you do to make the Harbotzas Torah possible. And Hashem should be mevarech you. B'chol habrachos. Okay, good evening, everyone. Just want to share a brief thought. So this is an informal gathering. I think it's a very beautiful idea. So just a brief idea for the Yom Tif of Chanukah, Haba Aleinu L'Tova. The Gemara Masechta Shabbos makes a very clear statement. Probably we're all familiar with it. And like many statements in the Gemara, we don't give it much thought, and maybe we don't have the courage to really ask the question that we would like to ask. The Gemara basically says, Haragil bener, havin loy banim tamid chachamim. The Gemara says that anyone who lights the Chanukah menorah will have children who are tamid chachamim, which let's that's every Jewish parent's dream, that they have banim tamid chachamim, children, God-fearing children. And the Gemara says anyone who lights the Chanukah menorah will be zoicha to this great bracha. And we just take it for granted. That's what the Gemara says, and maybe we don't have the courage to ask what we would like to ask. And this is the question of the son of the Rabbi. This is an individual who had Gilui Eliyahu. I mean, he spoke to Eliyahu Navi face to face, and he basically asks, look around, every observant Jew lights Chanukah menorah, and not everyone is zoicha to banim tamid chachamim. So, so is the Gemara literal? Does the Gemara just saying something? But we know if the Gemara says that if you light the Chanukah menorah, you'll have children on Tamicham, you could take it to the bank. But look around, not everybody has this great bracha, so what exactly does the Gemara mean? So he says that, everyone lights the menorah, but not everybody lights it with all the details. There are a lot of very specific halachos. There are a lot of dikdukim. You have to light it at a precise time. Yeah, okay, let's light the menorah at night. But what time are you supposed to light the menorah? There's a specific window. Not sometimes one is not able to light then, which is okay. But if I can't light then, so when am I supposed to light? And there's a specific way to light. I'll just give you a little hint. But don't tell this to your husband. They're going to get annoyed at you if you tell them what to do. But just tell them to listen to the shiur. That the way that 99% of people light even the menorah is they put wick on wick. As soon as it catches fire, they go on to the next. You're not really yet to the chachil. You have to actually hold the wick down on the wick until the majority of the wick that will hold the fire, it spreads to the majority of the wick. There are a lot of very specific details. So Rabbi Yitzchak Sagi Nahar says that if somebody would fulfill the lighting of a menorah with all the minutia precisely, then you can take it to the bank, you'll have banim tamid, but not everybody does that, so therefore not everyone is zoicha to this great bracha. And Rabbi Yerucham Moshen, you know who Rabbi Yerucham Moshen is? Rosh Yeshiva of Lakewood. He, in his sefer, he asks, but come on, nowadays everybody knows all the details, everybody knows the fine print, everybody knows all the punctilious instructions, and most people are doing it exact, and still not everybody is zoichet to banim tamid chachamim. So here's what I'd like to share with you on this fine Saturday evening, November 20th, 2021. Neshei Kahal Tiferes Mordechai. If you look in the Gemara basically is about 8 lines of text regarding the Yom Tif of Chanukah, and the Gemara says the Yevanim went into the Heichal and they defiled all the oil in the Heichal, and the Jews came back in and they searched and they couldn't find any oil. They found 1 flask of oil, enough to light for 1 night, lasts for 8 nights, and they established the following Yom Tif, Chanukah. And what is Chanukah? Like, what do you do on Chanukah? Like, what do you think the Gemara says? The Gemara says you use Chanukah to spin the dreidel and to eat latkes. The Gemara says you do two things on Chanukah. It doesn't talk about dreidel, doesn't talk about latkes. The Gemara says the main enactment and legislation of Chanukah is the Hallel of the Haidah. You say Hallel, right? You know, Chanukah is one of the only times you say full Hallel for 8 days. Even Pesach, you don't say full Hallel. Chanukah. So Hallel is the main observance of Chanukah. So in other words, if you ate donuts and you didn't say Hallel, then you didn't do Chanukah, contrary to popular opinion. You know, donuts are deadly, right? They're about 1,700 calories. That's for the first half. My father once told me a very important rule: Ein lanu reshus l'hishtamesh bahem ela l'roisam balvad. Okay, you don't have to follow that directive, but the Gemara doesn't talk about eating donuts. The Gemara doesn't talk about spinning the dreidel. The Gemara says you say Hallel u'v'haida and thanking Hashem. Which means, if let's say you had a big Hanukkah party and you gave out Hanukkah gelt and you did all the things that people do on Hanukkah and you didn't thank Hashem, then you didn't have Hanukkah. Astonishingly, the Gemara forgot to mention the main mitzvah and the only mitzvah of Hanukkah. What's the only mitzvah of Hanukkah? Lighting the menorah. See this? If you don't trust me, I know you say, well, the Gemara actually does not say you should light the menorah on Hanukkah. The Gemara says, L'shana acheres, the year following the miracle of Hanukkah, Kavam v'asam, they established it and they made it Yomim Tovim b'Hallel v'Haida. You say Hallel and you thank Hashem. And the Gemara doesn't say light the menorah. Now, the Rambam codifies the Gemara l'halacha. Listen to this Rambam, because I know you were hoping to come out tonight and hear a good Geshmak Rambam, so I'm here for you for that purpose. The Rambam codifies the Gemara. The Gemara says like this. The Rambam says as follows. Hiskinu chachamim shavoi sador. The rabbis of that generation enacted sheyu shmoinas hayomim ha'elu, that these 8 days that start on the 25th day of Kislev, Yemei Hallel, umadlikin hasaneras. You light the menorah, and you say Hallel. You say Hallel, and you light the menorah. So the Rambam codifies you're supposed to say Hallel, and the Rambam says you have to light the menorah. And what did the Rambam forget? The Rambam forgot to say you have to thank Hashem. Here the Gemara says, what do you do on Chanukah? Hallel and Hoidah. What does the Rambam say you do on Chanukah? Hallel and light the menorah. So the Gemara forgot to say you light the menorah, and the Rambam forgot to say you thank Hashem. Yeah?
Hallel thanking Hashem.
Hallel is praising Hashem. Talking about Hashem's greatness. So again, I want you to figure this out on your own. The Gemara says, what do you do on Chanukah? Hallel and Hoidah. The Rambam says, what do you do on Chanukah? Hallel and light the menorah. So the Gemara forgot to say you light the menorah, and the Rambam forgot to say you thank Hashem. Must be that lighting the menorah is different than any other mitzvah in the Torah. Every other mitzvah in the Torah, you just do it. So, a man puts on tefillin. What should he think? I'm putting on tefillin because God told me to. Why? Doesn't really matter. Any other mitzvah we do, you don't have to think of the purpose of the mitzvah. The Gemara does not say that you have to light the menorah. The Gemara is saying you have to light the menorah. But the way the Gemara says it is, you have to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, lighting the menorah is different than any other mitzvah. Every other mitzvah, you just do the act. Pick up the lulav and shake it. Why? Because the Lord said so. You sit in the sukkah. Why? The Rebbeinu Shalom said. However, lighting the menorah is different than any other mitzvah. The lighting of the menorah, there is no mitzvah on the 8 nights of Chanukah to open up your window and to light a fire on a candelabra. If somebody did that, they did not do anything. The purpose of lighting the menorah is it's an expression of gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which means that if you didn't know that lighting the menorah is an expression of gratitude, or you knew it's an expression of gratitude, but you didn't think that, you're not Yosef Mitzvah. Which is a very big chiddush. Because we know, let's say a guy is out late. He's coming home from the office 2 a.m. What does he do? The woman lights. The woman lights the menorah for him. And he comes home. He's yotzei. But that's only if afterwards he thinks this lighting of the menorah should serve as a expression of my gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You see, if we were to ask, we have 613 mitzvahs in the Torah. It's a lot of mitzvahs. It occupies our whole day. The whole day we're occupied doing mitzvahs. We get up in the morning, and we wash Negel Wasser, and we daven, and we go to work to support our families, and we keep Shabbos, and we do all the mitzvahs of Torah. What is the point of all of it? In other words, what does Hashem want from us through our performance of the mitzvahs? What's the objective of fulfilling the mitzvahs? What's the underlying fundamental objective of fulfilling the mitzvahs? The Ramban says, the purpose of all the mitzvahs in the Torah is just to come to one realization. Ribbono shel olam, you created me, thank you. That's the purpose of all the mitzvahs in the Torah. Thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I don't want to get into the overused, hackneyed, what? Thank you, Hashem. But the objective of all the mitzvahs of the Torah is to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us. He gave us a house. He gave us a room to sleep in. He gave us husband, wife, father, mother, children, table, food, the basic necessities of life. The purpose of all the mitzvahs is to come to a recognition, is to pause and to say, okay, Baruch Hashem, I'm doing this mitzvah, I'm lighting Ner Shabbos, because I recognize that you created me and you gave me everything I have, and I know I have billions of cells in my body. Each one require trillions of processes for me to function and be alive. I know right now you're bestowing upon me a multiplicity of benefits without which any one of those billions of benefits I could not be alive. Thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why it says in Pirkei Avos that one should be careful in a small mitzvah like a great mitzvah. Why should we be so careful in a small mitzvah? Because even a small mitzvah fulfills the objective of all the mitzvahs, which is to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we can't pay him back. No, there's no way to pay him back. Because if a person couldn't see, how much would a person pay to see? They'd come up with $10 million to be able to see. So we can't give Hashem $10 million. So there's no way to pay him back even for one of the benefits that he gives for us. So all we could do is acknowledge that he does it for us, and we could express our gratitude. That's the purpose of all the mitzvahs of the Torah. The Ramban says, Shenakir Oiseh, that we should recognize him, V'noida Elav, and to thank him. So even though that's the purpose of all the mitzvahs, but is there one mitzvah that mitzvah is a direct expression of just thanking Hashem? There's one mitzvah. Ner Chanukah. The purpose of Ner Chanukah, the Gemara says, L'hodos. We're not lighting a candle. If someone lights a candle at the exact time, in the precise way, prescribed by the Shulchan Aruch, with every single detail, not only did they not follow, they didn't do anything. In other words, let's say, if you have to show gratitude to someone, and you throw a ball at them, and you didn't know that on the ball it said thank you, then you didn't thank anyone. You did a completely different act. There is no mitzvah of lighting a candelabra the night of Chanukah. The mitzvah is to express gratitude to Hashem. If the lighting the menorah is not an expression of gratitude, you didn't do anything. Therefore, says Rabbi Yitzchak Sagi Nahar, there are many, many people who light the menorah and they light it precisely and exactly, but they don't light it with a heart overflowing with gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then they lose out the great bracha vouchsafed by the Gemara of Haragel Bener, Zoichen v'havin le banim talmidei chachamim. Now, amazingly, if someone has, let's say, no shoes, let's say a person has one pair of shoes, one would be required to sell their shoes to buy Ner Chanukah, which is not the case by any other mitzvah. Not only that, if somebody lights the Ner Chanukah and they put it in a hazardous place and it causes damage, they're pater. So we make all kinds of dispensations by Ner Chanukah. They're very strict responsibilities. In other words, one would have to even sell their clothing to light Ner Chanukah, to the extent that the Rambam says, of all the mitzvahs in the Torah, Ner Chanukah is mitzvah chaviva hi ad ma'od. It's a very beloved mitzvah. What is so beloved about Ner Chanukah? Because it fulfills the main objective, really, of all the mitzvahs in the Torah. So I'll leave you with one story. This story was very compelling and challenging to me, because I think that will definitely cause us to rethink the way we daven. So there's a guy, according to this book, his name was Asher, and he had 5 daughters, all over age 28. And as you could imagine, his entire life became preoccupied with finding shidduchim for these 5 girls. So it wasn't easy. 5 girls of marriageable age, and they're getting older. And then he had a chavrusa who had 1 daughter, and this chavrusa married her off like this, and he had to buy a house. You know, in Israel, you marry someone, you got to buy them an apartment, so he had to buy them an apartment, and he needed someone to be a co-signer for the apartment. So his chavrusa, who has the 5 girls who of a marriageable age, was the co-signer for the apartment. The father of this daughter, he defaulted. He couldn't pay for the apartment. Now the oil fell on this guy who has 5 girls in shidduchim, and he couldn't pay it. So the bank came and took away his house. So Nebuch, the guy, he's overwhelmed with trying to marry off his kids. Now he doesn't have his house, and his life was basically in shambles. So he went to the Beis Yisrael, the Ger Rebbe, and the Ger Rebbe says, "Okay." So, and he says, I daven every day for my daughters that they should find shidduch. I daven for parnasa, and I said, nothing worked. The Ger Rebbe says, you mean you just ask Hashem? How much of your davening do you spend thanking Hashem? So he said, thanking Hashem for what? You have 5 daughters, and they're all healthy, and you're healthy, and you move to an apartment, and you have parents, and you have furniture, and you have a place to sleep, and so what percent of the davening do you spend thanking Hashem? What percent of davening do you spend asking Hashem? And he was very embarrassed, because basically his whole davening revolved around asking Hashem. Like when he would pause in Shema Koleinu, or when he would stop and close his eyes and go, it was all bakashos, and it was no thank you, which is, I assume, what most people do. And he left embarrassed and sort of wondering what exactly does he have to thank Hashem. And then he realized that he could make a very, very long list. And the Ger Rebbe told him a ratio, a proportion. 60% of your tefillah should be thanking Hashem, 40% should be asking. And he was wondering, where does this number come, or where did the Ger Rebbe get this from? And he realized that in Hallel, we say, Hoidu Hashem ki tov yom chasda, Yamar na Yisrael. Hoidu Hashem ki yom chasda, Yamar na Beisa. Hoidu Hashem, we say Hoidu 4 times. Then we say Ana Hashem Mashiana, Ana Hashem Mashiana, Ana Hashem Maslichana, Ana Hashem Maslichana, Hoidu, Hoidu. So we end up saying Hoidu 6 times, and Ana Hashem 4 times. So he said maybe that's where the Ger Rebbe got this proportion and ratio from. And he tried it. And obviously the story has this amazing ending. Within 3 months he married off 3 girls, and then the other guy got a Yerusha and he bought the house back, and the story ends happily ever after, which I can't tell you whether that's true or not. Probably not, but that's not the point. The point is not whether the story had a happy ending or not. The point, for me at least, is it's a reality check that I think most people spend the vast majority of their davening asking. And I think most of the day, people walk around, the default position of our mind is, how difficult my life is, all my issues, all my problems with my kids and my spouse and my home and my life, and most people, the default position of their mind is all the things that they need. And the purpose of life is that the default position of our mind should be what we need to be grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for. And that's really the purpose of lighting the menorah, and that's the purpose of all the mitzvahs in the Torah, and that is the purpose of our existence. The purpose of our existence is to live a life of gratitude to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I have breakfast, I have lunch, I have dinner, I have a car, I have a place to live, I have family, we should have a list of at least 100 things that you walk down the street, on block 1, you think about the first thing you should be grateful for, and block 2, the second thing you should be grateful for, and the block 3, and if you're walking 2 miles, you should not exhaust the possibilities of things that you should be grateful for. It doesn't mean you can't ask Hashem for what you need. Everybody has needs, merubim tzarchei amenu. But the Rambam writes, he never met someone in his entire life that didn't have more good things in their life than challenges. That person never existed. And even though we like to think of ourselves as, of course, I have more problems than I have benefits, but there is no such person. So, from the Yom Tov of Chanukah, we should try to glean, and when we light the menorah, we should make sure that it's with expression of gratitude to Hashem, and you could kindly remind your husband to listen to the share so he knows what to do when he's lighting. But even besides that, it's not about the menorah. It's really about the purpose of all the mitzvahs of the Torah, and it's about changing the default setting of our minds instead of being of what's wrong with my existence to what I have to be grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in that zechus, we'll fulfill our tafkid ba'olam hazeh, and we should all be zoicha to banim, uvnei banim, oiskim atarva mitzvahs. Thank you so much for inviting me, Mrs. Glatstein, to this. Sure.
Wouldn't you fall into the category of somebody who had more bad?
So the Rambam would say no, because even though he lost family, but he's alive. And if he's alive, that means his kidneys were working. And if his kidneys were working, the Rebbe Shalom had to perform trillions of benefits to him just so that he could get up in the morning. And he has the opportunity to get up in the morning, acknowledge HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and get Olam Haba. So even Eov, the Rambam would say, he didn't have it easy, but he still had a majority of good.
So, if we don't have gratefulness in mind, it's a bracha.
So it's not a bracha b'atala, but it's basically.
Does Hanerus halalu, because you say hoda in it, is that like, even if you don't, you need to have the intention, or
Here's the thing. In Hanerus halalu, that's a good question, because in Hanerus halalu, you say, Hanerus halalu kajim kedei l'haydais. But like if you're just singing it and you're not even aware that you're saying that I'm lighting it kedei l'haydais, so then it's like, misasek. It's like, what's halacha? If somebody forgets at Shabbos and they turn on the light, that's a shaygig. So you need kapar for that. But let's say somebody's walking through the hall and they just brush against the light. It's not an avera because they had no degree of consciousness. So if somebody just sings Haneres Halalu, they're not really thinking about the meaning of the words. So on any level, are they expressing gratitude?
they're expressing the feeling. They're not.
Are they? Is it an expression if you don't even know you're expressing it?
So it's a good question. I once read something that
Yeah.
I found as a mother, David, that sometimes like I'm not paying attention, or like I lose it, like all the concentration, or someone's tugging at me.
Right.
So this was from Zahava Fartman. She wrote how like the neshama, even if you, like me physically, isn't in my tefillah, my neshama said it for me. Like I don't.
There's some
So it makes me feel better when I have like a not a good davening.
So
I wonder if that would hold here.
that may or may not be true when it comes to davening.
I don't try to have bad ones, but when I'm
No.
like,
We're with you on that. It's even if you have everything going your way, it's hard to be mechaven to the tefillah. Tefillah was enacted in a way where the Chachamim already injected in the words of tefillah what they need to accomplish. So a tefillah, even said without kavanah, is effective. This is gratitude. If you're not grateful, it's hard to say that you are having gratitude, right? So this is like, this is a level of fulfillment of mitzvah that we should try to aspire to. If we can't, then we could rely on Mrs. Farman's.
Is the 60-40 ratio referring to personal tefillas? Is it built into the tefillas that we say?
Yeah, the personal tefillas. Personal tefillas.
Throughout the day or each time?
I think you could daily allot it. It doesn't have to be each time.
Keep running out.
By the way, this story, I just heard this story this week. So it's challenge to me. I myself have to reevaluate. During Shema Kolenu, you have all kinds of personal bakashas. So we have personal things in Moedim. Okay, let me stop in Moedim and pause now and think of all the things we have to be grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We should. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.